I am Vidya and I come from Bangalore.
2nd December 1956, straight we go there. Um, we were at the stadium where Baba was watching the cricket, and at that time Baba was in seclusion, and Baba quite did not like someone being disturbed at that time, and he was Eruch went and asked Baba, there are some people and they want to see you. And Baba denied seeing them, and he said, letter has been sent to everyone that during seclusion period I should not be disturbed, and why are these people trying to approach me? And when they really insisted, then Baba said, okay, send to everyone that during seclusion period I should not be disturbed, and why are these people trying to approach me? And when they really insisted, then Baba said, okay, they can see me from a distance, but then he just said that we'll just have to leave right now. It was around 3 o'clock that everyone said, Baba said, we'll leave now. And while we were driving back, then that's when he stopped the car for a minute and he saw both of them, and then they had a darshan, and then Baba said to them through gestures that the instructions that were given were to be obeyed, and as he not obeyed, then they apologized. Then they said, okay, just forget it, and in his usual way he said, okay, let's go, it's over. So I just left the place, and we were driving back from the stadium back to Satara. At that time Baba was in seclusion at Satara, and there was part of men mentally and women mentally staying in two different bungalows, and there were people who would go and see him sometime depending on his wish and his orders. We would go and see him and do some work, but apart from that none of the people were meeting. But Baba was like, yeah, so we were driving back, and then sitting in the back seat and watching Baba in the front seat, while Baba was having fun and cracking jokes and making fun of other people. The first time when I met him, and the entire story of how I had tried to approach him, and I said I'll discontinue my studies and come back to him and stay. And at that time Baba did not give me permission to come and stay with me until I finished my education. And then after finishing my education, I was not sure what I wanted to do then. Whether I should go and stay with Baba, which was my wish. But then at that time, when the time came, I had a little bit of confusion whether I should go join Baba or do my practice and do something else in my life, because the confusion always prevailed on the mind. So Baba, that's the time when Baba said, yes, come and join. And then I was thinking about all the time when, right from the time I had stayed with him, and just like it was like a dream when we all stayed, and it was a time when we only knew Baba, and that was the only world, as if there was no other world then. The outside world does not exist for the people who stayed with Baba, and we just were like Baba and Baba and Baba, and whatever he would say, we'll just do that and stay with him and all that. So all those thoughts crossing my mind. So yeah, so that was our life, and while we were thinking about all these things going forward in the story, and I was very happy all the time being with him, and were regretted and nothing of that sort. So it was a total happy moment, and there was the time when, though the physical presence was there and there were a lot of shortcomings in our lives and in our personalities too. I was not perfect. Let me not comment about other people. I was not spiritual. I had no idea of spirituality. I had no idea of seven planes. I did not know what God Speaks was all about. I didn't know what work was going on about God Speaks and what Baba used to talk on spirituality and all that. What we only knew was there are certain mundane things that Baba would ask us to do, and we would do those mundane things, and that was the only life we led. But it was since physical presence of Baba was so fulfilling that it never appeared to us that something is missing in our lives, though we missed a lot of things otherwise from the material point of view. But then it never came to our mind that we really missed something then. So these thoughts were going on, and something really happened, and then everyone was thrown out of the car, and that's when the accident took place. 1956 accident took place. I was thrown out of the car. I did not realize that after some time, when I gained consciousness, I went back. I realized that I am outside and something happened. I came out, went to Baba's side to see what happened, and saw Baba was profusely bleeding, and he was hurt. I didn't see anyone else. I only saw Baba. And then I went to Baba's side and said, Baba, you are very hurt. Let me help you from the car. And what can I do for you? I was really shattered to see Baba in that condition. And Baba was not saying anything. And then I just said again, Baba, you are bleeding. Let me please help you. Please extend your hand so that I can bring you to the car. And that's when Baba spoke and said, Nilu, you just got to go right now. And someone will help me, don't worry, leave. So I said, Baba, how can I leave you like this? I just can't leave you like this and go. Where are you asking me to go? You know, it looks like an accident, and you are hurt, and I can't leave you like that. And I was terribly disturbed with it. Then Baba said, no, you can't stay here, Nilu. You just got to go. Please leave right away. And I insisted, but he did not. And then after 2-3 times he said, it's my order that you leave right now. Can you see you are dead? You are no more. And you see you are not there. You are dead, and you got to leave right away. And only then I realized that I had no body, and I was talking to Baba. And Baba was also talking to me at that point of time. I saw the body was lying elsewhere, and I was standing next to Baba. That's the time when I left. That was the first thought that came to my mind. As Baba, how will I live without you asking me to go away from you? I can't live without you. I had no choice but to leave that place. And then I left that place. After I left that place, I moved into a space of darkness, and then the space of light, and there was a space of darkness, and there was light, and after several light and dark, moved into a space where there was bright light, and there was Baba there. And that's when the Baba here was very different from the Baba I had seen so far. He was not like having the physical body or all those things, but he was very different. He was vibrant, he was so bright, he was very compassionate, and he was there to welcome me there again. And Baba received me, and I was again happy to be united with Baba, and nothing else really bothered me. Then he took me through the various worlds. He welcomed me, he hugged me, and I was like again like a child with the father, and as if I'm sitting in his lap. In his lap, he took me through various worlds, and there were places where that were very some places were painful, and some places were very happy places in this worlds. And then we moved through various worlds, and then there was one place where we stayed for a longer time. I stayed with Baba, I don't know for how many years or space or time. I had no relativity of space and time there. Then we stayed there for a long time, and this time was interesting in a way where it was kind of a introspection time, where I was like looking at my so many past lives from in human and non-human form, and so many things, like a summary of events that had happened, and I was like everything was getting summarized there. And then Baba would always be there next to me while the real work was probably done by me, but he was just present to me, always present there with me. After some time, he said, it's time for you to go back, and there are certain unfinished things you got to do, and there's also certain work which you got to do. So you got to go back not only for yourself but for some other reasons too. The thought that was again on mind was like, I don't want to leave you and go. I just want to be with you. And he said, fine, if you want to be with me for a longer time, you could be here. And he never insisted that I should go back at any time or any particular this thing. He said, fine, if you're not comfortable, you want to be here for some more time, just stay. And then when you want to go, just know that you have to go one day. So after spending some more time, I decided to probably come back. And then Baba told me that now that you have to design your life as to what you want to do, there was a choice of having a very fast track life with a lot of things accomplishing in one lifetime, or they could add the choice to take a slow life which could have slow learning, slow growth, but then life would be little better and comfortable. So I decided to have a fast-paced life, and I said I wanted to accomplish a lot of things in one life. So the design was made, and then he told me that for this kind of an experience you require to choose your parents, and there was also choice of parents given as to which country, which city, which parents would be suitable for this experience. And then I chose, I don't know on what basis I made the choice then, but I chose to come back in Andhra Pradesh. And so I'm born to parents in Andhra Pradesh, and I'm the second daughter in the house. I have two sisters, no brothers, and I was born into a family. And yeah, so when I came back, the initial life, I had no memory of my past life. I had no idea of what it was. Initial life was very difficult, but things happening at a pace which I can not explain. Like, my life was beyond my maturity, beyond my capacity to handle. But things, so many experiences but I don't have to explain all those material things, because all of us go through it in some way or other. So there is no need to narrate those experiences and difficulties. So those difficulties were there up to 2001. I'm married to a banker, and I have twin children, a son and a daughter who are 19 now. Um, so I was married, and when I continued my journey, I had met various masters. I was too much into devotion right from my childhood. Somewhere something clinged, but I was like moving from one deity to other, one god to other. I've been to churches, mosques, temples, everything right from my childhood. Even when I was very young, I used to go to churches, mosques, try to understand what they do in Dargah, what they do in temples and things like that. All that happened, I think by 16 I finished it all. I finished all temples, all mosques, all this thing. I was done with everything. Then came the scene of masters coming in my life. I met avdutas, I met some masters, physical form masters, and some people probably I didn't send. And that was the time of Shirdi Baba, when he was present to me most of the time. So I think a lot of things, like the spiritual journey during that time was very fast, but various other people. Only in 2001 I went into a meditation workshop just because my friend pushed me into it in Chennai, and I was pushed into a meditation which was something like a technique which is called Shaktipat. I didn't know so much of technical things about the meditation. It was just that the one person supposed to be the master pushed me into the meditation, and then I went into a very big trance in the meditation, where a lot of things about life and the material things were lost its importance, and I became aware of my spirituality probably at that point in time. Then I went through a lot of probably that meditation techniques and all that, which I finished probably in 2004. And in a workshop, someone spoke about, because we were talking about soul and the journey and all those things, someone mentioned about the God Speaks and Meher Baba. And that person spoke about, wrote everything about the soul's journey and human journey and all that. You will find everything there. And that's when the whole thing clicked for me, and that was the only name. Within a week's time, I planned a trip to Meherabad, and I didn't know much about the place. I didn't know anything about the place and the details and all that. But my husband was in Chennai then, and I was in Hyderabad when I heard about this. And I had to ask him to rush to Pune, and I rushed from Hyderabad. I made him rush from Chennai to Pune, and then we got down at the station and we stayed over this at Pune for one day because we were not aware of the facilities at Meherabad. And we went to the center, which is next to that KM hospital. The center, that was the first time when I visited any place of Baba Center or Baba's place. And they received us very lovingly, and they took us to a room and showed a chair and said, this is where Baba sat when he came here, and this is the chair. So I immediately sat. I mean, for me, Baba's name or Baba's picture or Baba's this thing was too overwhelming then for me. For some unknown reason, I had no idea about what the whole story was all about. It was just that there was too much of emotion and too much of the connect or probably whatever. So I sat near Baba's chair, and as I bowed to, I just sat, like it was his chair, and I sat. And as I sat, I felt Baba touch me on my head. And then the message that came to me was, finally you are here, I'm glad you have come. And I'm here, you're here, and I'm glad you have come. And I'm just waiting for you. There's some important work to be done by you, and that's all. I mean, then I was sitting there probably for about half an hour, 45 minutes until someone came and told, please get up, and then kind of. So then we went to Meherabad, and as I touched Ahmednagar circle, and we took that Kshetra, Meher Baba Kshetra, this side. We took that right, and as I entered that place, I felt the place was so familiar for me and all that, and I kept telling my family that this is from here so much, this is here like this is like this, but the only at Lower Meherabad when I hit the neem tree and that samadhi of the master, that's when that whole thing was very overwhelming. Then we didn't go to Lower Meherabad first. We stopped near the railway track, stopped the car, and everyone was walking to the path. So as I stepped onto the path, I really felt I'm stepping onto a spiritual path with my master, and I felt my Baba walking with me on the path. So I walked the path to Meherabad and Samadhi, bowed to Baba, and I felt I'm united in the body again with him. It was just an overwhelming feeling. I had no thought, no idea why all that was happening. But no one was talking, so I thought it was silent Baba. We knew Baba was silent, so no one was talking and all. But then we asked some people, try to understand what is it and all that. No one spoke. Then later on, some villagers told that was the silent stay. And so they said it is a silent stay, hence no one will talk to you. So then we went to Lower Meherabad. I go to that day Jhopri was also open, fortunately. So we took a darshan at Jhopri, and we took a lot of things, but Manli Hall was very connected for me, so I felt a little connected there. So we went back, and that's when bought a copy of God Speaks, and my husband went back to Chennai. I went back, my children were hardly 6-7 years old, maybe lesser than that, 1997, 7 years old. They were going to the school. I was alone, I was working, and staying with my kids, taking care of my kids, my husband elsewhere. But that was the time of Baba really showing me experiences of fears. I don't know, I probably the touch of samadhi took me to a different place, and the fears of, I began to see things that I was not seeing before. I began to hear things that I was not hearing before. I felt there was no ground under my feet. I felt there was no sky. I don't know, I could see things in between me and the space, and they were so scary because from the material point of view or from gross body point of view, probably I didn't know spiritual things and all that, but they were very scary. And Baba would really appear sometimes in a snap, and I would just see him in the night, and then he would disappear, and then again he would appear in spaces everywhere, in different forms, in different shapes and things like that. So this was a period of about 1.5 years of total fear, so many fears of not understanding what was going around me, and I had no idea as to what these things were. God Speaks, I read the first page and then it went wrong. It just took me to somewhere, and I couldn't read the book for some time. But then when I started reading it in 2 weeks, probably I completed 3/4 of the book, and most of the book felt like, it's like, I'm not with any arrogance, like I felt okay, I understand most of this. We formed a group of 10 people before that, during Silence Day or something. We went on a 5 masters trip from Chennai. And during that trip, we touched all the masters, and I felt the presence of masters so much with Meher Baba, including Narayan Maharaj. I felt the memories of, at Narayan Bait, I felt the memories of already visiting that place. And there's a meditation room where Narayan Maharaj used to meditate, which is underground. And that is where the room is locked most of the time, but they open it for some people. So we were fortunate once to that room opened, and that's one place where Narayan Maharaj used to meditate. And this was in that trip we were visiting Narayan Bait and then going to Mehrabad, and we planned to stay there for a week. So 3-4 days, sorry. So we went there, and it's Narayan, that meditation room. I went into a trance, and I didn't wake up probably. It was very difficult for me to manage physically my body. And my friends and my group who came along with me, they were taking care of my body to ensure that I am put at the right place at the right time and all that. So there was a deep trance from that meditation room. And then we went to Samadhi, for the silence day, and there was so much of queue, and so I thought I will sit down behind Samadhi for some time and maybe take darshan, because there was whole day and we were anyway going to be around. So I sat under a tree behind the Samadhi, and I don't know what happened to me, and then I was like, it was around 9:30 probably. I was sitting there, and I was there till 2 o'clock under the tree. I had no idea, I had no consciousness of what happened to me then through the cross. But my group came and tried. It was a silence day. They were trying to wake me up and say, let's go at lunchtime, 1 o'clock, and we were all staying, so they said, let's go back. But I didn't know, I didn't go for lunch, and they left me and went away. At 2 o'clock I went back, and it took about 24 hours more for me. Only next day probably I was okay, normal. Now what happened during these 3 hours is something which I would like to share. I had not shared these stories for so many years, but now I'm sharing these stories on Baba's order again. So the experience was like this. Baba came in front of me, and Baba said, "Are you ready?" And I said, "Yes, I'm ready." Then Baba took a big sword, and he chopped my neck. He chopped my neck, and I died. I saw myself as a naked person, totally naked person, picking up my own body, and there was a funeral happening, and I played my body in the fire, and I burnt my own body there. and that's when I went unconscious. This is what was my experience behind Samadhi, sitting there. I just went unconscious after that, and then came back to that. So this was one of the experiences, but after this experience, a lot of things changed, and the meaning of this experience, probably because the interpretations could be many, but I tell you the actual interpretation because I don't want anyone to interpret these things differently. This is like, if a gross body is there, it is a death of the gross body, which is ego. And this can be done only by the master. A human being himself cannot handle our own ego. It is the only perfect master who can kill your ego and provide that freedom. When he said, "You are ready," without even thinking for a second, without even, he is not given any introduction of what he is going to do with me. He just asked me, "Are you ready?" And even without us thinking, mentally, physically, spiritually, any way you don't doubt him for a second also, and just say, "Yes, I am ready." And that was a very, probably that state is possible only by the blessings of the Master himself, where you don't doubt, because the moment you doubt, then the experience is over. So then he kills, and he kills is not going to be a honeymoon period where there is beautiful garden, beautiful roses happening there. It is very difficult journey when he kills, and you don't question that also, and he kills you. And that's when he killed my physical gross ego, and he allowed me, and I had to really handle my ego, to kill my ego and burn my ego. So it doesn't it this is about killing your Baba, handling ego of a soul. That is the interpretation of this story. So so since I am still in body and I'm still talking to you all, so I believe that there's some part of it's left, but it will be handled by him, so I don't really want to bother about my ego or my state or my plane or my status. So today's context, it really doesn't bother me whether I was Nilu or Vidya or who I was. It really is irrelevant for the current, for me right now. So that's one thing that happened to me, which I felt was very profound. And then in 2007, went to Amar Titi. It was 1st Feb 2007. I was reading a newsletter that was published by the trust. It was December newsletter. They had mentioned about the accident, and as I read that newsletter, I was at Mehrabad reading that letter, and I suddenly felt this is me who's died in the accident. That was the first memory, first thing that happened to me, connecting me to my lifetime, my previous life. And I connected that this was me who died in the previous accident, and I could not, like, it was too much of it for me. So I was emotionally, mentally, everything, it was too much disturbance, and I could not believe that something like this is happening to me. I took that newsletter, went back to the room, I sat and tried to kind of, what is it? So I first said, "Baba, what is this? Please show me some way. What is it all about?" Baba said, "Go to Samadhi and you will have someone talking about it, and that would be the confirmation for you that what I am telling you is true." So I walked from, like crazily, I walked from MPR to Samadhi to listen to what he has to say. It was next day, the program on the stage was still going on of Amar Tithi. On the stage, Babaji started telling story about Nilu. So that is when it was a confirmation. Didn't know what to do about it, and I had no at that time I had no memory of the incidents or all that. All that I had known was that in the accident that has happened in 1950, it is me who died. That's the only thing he had told me by then. So I went back, and then I mentioned it to my friend, like, this is what's happening and all these things are coming to my mind. It's very disturbing. So she had known somewhere, so she said, "Okay, fine, I mean, it looks, try to be with it for the day. Next morning I would take you to someone probably you could talk to." she never told me whom she is going to talk to, whom she is going to take me to and all that. So I just kept quiet, and it was too much of it for me. Whole day I was at Samadhi, Lower Mehrabad, all there I was there. Next day I met someone, an old man, and I narrated him. I narrated the whole story to him. I was still emotional, I was still crying, I was doing all that stuff. And then he said, but Nilu was not like this, he was not emotional like this. So that is when, I don't know from where it came, I told everything about Nilu, the personality he was to that person. And then he said, wow, yeah, I think he was like this, and I met him and he was like this. And that the person I met was Don Stevens. So he said fine. So so that was another experience. But these external confirmations were more from intelligence point of view. It was not about getting. It was more about probably some part of me was still looking for some proofs around. But I kept it with me, and then over a period of time, they actually grew, and all the strings got connected in a way. In various processes, or would you say some places, somewhere when 3 hours of session I had done, where I had narrated everything about what was it about me. It was recorded. Life Research Academy got interested about my story, and so the story continued for some time. From 2007 till recently, I was not sharing the story with anyone. There are so many experiences, so many ways the life has changed. I had seen Baba in thousands and thousands of people in my office, and I thought I'd faint when I saw his love is his company, and his unity is his love. When you're united in him, you don't even long for love, because you become love. So it's like that. So you become love, and there is no longing for anything to go forward and look forward. So that is what is my journey, and the journey is still continuing. The journey is not over. I'm still in the process probably. So I'm very basic, normal person with no knowledge, no big knowledge about the books and all that. But what I know is this, that when Baba comes, everything else goes. So I actually, as a normal woman, I had a lot of issues with my family before I met Baba. After I met Baba, my family is very loving, and they forgive me all the time. So I make a lot of mistakes, and they keep forgiving me all the time. And my children are, I think they have also grown beyond the age because of me. So maybe, but yeah, so I manage my life like a normal woman. I manage my work like a normal person. I live my life like a normal human being. Baba is with me in those little moments of happiness and sadness.
Yes, do you get angry?
Yes, I do get angry. I do get angry, and he makes me aware of my anger. Anger is just an emotion, and I am just normal with all other emotions, and I bear the consequences of my anger. That is the responsibility he asked me to take.
Yeah. You must have found it so difficult to share your story in the beginning, to tell people. How come now it's become easier for you?
When I had one of these two stories, I thought, oh, people doubt me, and I don't want it to be judged, because it spoils my experience, and I don't wanted anyone to tell me and spoil my experience. It was a very personal experience for me. I really don't care whether someone believes it or doesn't believe it, because even if someone believes it also, nothing can be taken away from me. My experience is my experience. And Baba is with me in his own way. I know Baba connects with everyone differently, and he's connected with me like this, and no one can take away that from me. So now I don't feel the discomfort to share my story. And one more thing is, this is Baba's order to share my story with me. He himself told me, go tell your story, it's time to tell your story, because it's one way to tell how Baba takes care of not only this life, but many lives. And he always takes care of so many lives, and we can't just imagine what he does and how he did. Like my mother-in-law is a very conservative lady. Once I took her to Mehrabad to darshan. They were open to come to Mehrabad, so we went to Shirdi and all that. Then I took her to Mehrabad, and as she walked from the parking place to Samadhi in the tin shed, if you all have visited the tin shed, she just went through and finished the darshan. And once coming back, she said, "Take me to the person who's sitting there in the tin shed." I said, "Who's sitting there?" No, there's one guy who's with a white dress sitting there. No, I think he's giving darshan to everyone. Please let me have his darshan. Yeah, this photo. So she said, he's sitting there, let me have his darshan. I said, there's no one there. She says, no, there's someone there. Please take me. So I took that, and there was no one there actually. And that's when she believes, and now she doesn't have any objections with me following Baba. She doesn't. She fully believes in him. I know that how he has solved that problem. And as far as my husband is concerned, my husband in Bombay was placed in the branch which is just below Baba Center on Grand Trunk Road. He was in that branch working, and I don't do anything to propagate Baba. Today's message when I was coming here, and it was very much matching with whatever was read and what Cyrus was saying and all that. The propagation is the Baba's message was live a life of full on integrity. Live a life of integrity, and that is what is going to reflect. That is the purpose of your life. For purpose for my organization I've held is I want to enhance love and trust in corporate space, which lacks the most right now. So consciously the work which I have taken is love and trust in corporate. Love and trust in workplaces where we trust each other the least.
One last question. You said that in the afterlife, the Baba that you experienced there was so unlike the Baba that you saw and you were used to and who you lived with and served. What was that Baba all about?
That was the Baba. That was like this. The Baba we saw was like in the physical body. I'll explain with this same thing was like we saw some figures, pictures, all these things. So when the light came, it was only the brightness that could be seen.